Joseph, take the child and his mother and flee for safety. Please be seated. I have titled my homily today, Mary, Pack the Pots, We're Moving Again. There's a second part to it. Mary, in her divine wisdom, says, oh no, not the angel again. Joseph says, yes, pack. There is a favorite TV program of my own now that I've just begun to watch a short time ago. And it's called Strange Inheritance. Has anyone seen that? Okay, good. Someone has, thank you God. It is about people who have a strange inheritance from the past life of their parents and brothers and sisters, and they go to search to see if anything is worthwhile. They look in their attics and they find things that are treasures beyond their own imagination and become wealthy. I searched my attic and found nothing. I felt cheated. So I'm going to keep watching the program. Maybe it'll give me more insight. But today, we have a wonderful inheritance. And it began with a knock on the door. And the words, there is no room in the inn. Well, how could that be an inheritance? We're going to explain how. Those words that Mary, Joseph, and Jesus were greeted to was just a frightening moment. What do we do now? There was room in the inn, I'm convinced. After reading so much those last few years on this topic, I know in my heart there was room. But it was a house of ill repute. It was a bar. And the man who opened the door said, oh my God, this is a holy family. This is someone who is genuinely holy. I cannot let them in. I'm embarrassed. So he gave them the cave that we speak about so often. Whether it was a cave or a stable, that's where our inheritance was born. What a beautiful inheritance to know that we have something not in our attic, but within us every day of our life. And it's a treasure beyond all telling. You cannot even put a price to it. It's a tremendous treasure and gift. What are we presented with the gospel today? The gospel seems so fast already. We're hearing, Joseph, take the child and his mother and run. Already. Oh my God. What do we do now? But instead of Joseph living in fear, he lived in faith. And in that dream, he heard, move, get up now and go. And they took flight to protect that beautiful treasure, the child Jesus. They searched and searched and walked hundreds of miles. Look at the distance between Bethlehem and that of Egypt. We see them in a tragic moment. It's a tragic event in their life, leaving their home, leaving their security, leaving where they were happy, and yet put their faith in God that he was going to even lead them to a greater life. And the greater life was to see the reality of Jesus Christ. Within this gift, we see God's intervention. God in humanity. Save the child. Save what you have. That of the holiness of God. We look around and we say, it's familiar. It is really familiar. They were immigrants. They left. They ran and went to a land that they did not know. But yet, not in fear, like I said, they trusted in God. I can only speak of my own family and what the immigrants that my grandparents were. They came from Italy into that of a New York harbor to Ellis Island. And what would greet them at that doorway as they knocked to come in was the unknown of all. What an unknown moment. They must have shook in their whole body to say, what are we going to experience? My grandmother came through, and my grandfather had to stay there for many weeks because he had the flu. They would not let him in. She went out, and some man said to her, "Oh, I'll help you with your bags." She said, "Oh, thank you, good," and stole everything she had. What to do then? It's just like the Holy Family. If they had their pots, they were lucky. They could cook again and have food. But look around us. We see that every day. The immigrants that are coming from so many different places, leaving a dictatorship and running, fleeing for their life, not knowing where they were going to end up or what they were going to do, or where will they be? Will they meet a friendly face? Will they meet a hand? Will they meet Christ? It's the unknown. And how sometimes the unknown really puts us to shame. Because if we have trust to see it unfold, we find even a greater reality within that moment. Have faith, not fear. We hear about Herod, a man that was, I believe, at that time, the worst ever. A man of hatred, of anger, of anxiety. A man so tortured by his own authority and power that he was afraid to lose it, and even had his wife and children put to death because he saw them as a threat to his authority. Where will this child be? Send out the kings once again, the Magi, the wise men. When you come back, let me know where he is. The wise men set out to bring homage and to give gifts to that of Jesus. Now the journey must have been quite long, and it must have been about 2 years before they reached where Jesus was from the different parts of the lands that they came. Finally, they present their gifts, but it's how they presented their gift, which we'll speak about in just a moment. Herod, on the other hand, was so much like the Pharaoh. So much. In the Old Testament, we see Moses running through, taking his people, releasing them from slavery, and bringing them into a promised land, and followed by a torch of light through the Reed Sea and to that of the promised land. And here we see Jesus bringing us from a torturous moment that we will never be free of sin, but freeing us, giving us salvation from sin, and bringing us, by a guidance of a star, into that of freedom from sin. Two tremendous gifts that God intervened and showed his mighty power of love and affection. Then what happens? Guess who shows up? The angel. Again. Go back now. Oh, no. Could you imagine? They must have just said, we just set up and everything else. We don't know. Okay, we'll go. Back again, but not to Bethlehem, to Nazareth. From Nazareth I shall call my son, and he shall free the people. And once again, they were presented. Let us talk for just a moment about the beautiful gifts that they received from the Magi. We know of the gold, incense, and myrrh. Frankincense, it was called at that time. The gold, of course, was for money. Frankincense was that of burning the incense in the temple. And myrrh, the preserver. So it would preserve life as well as our bodies after we pass. Even the Egyptians used it in mummification. what happened to those precious gifts? We always wonder. What shelf did they put them on? What coffers? I'm sure it wasn't these huge steaming trunks. No. It must have been a simple gift, a token gift, because the gift itself was not the gift. The gift was in the love presented to Jesus and to the Holy Family, and to all of our families as well. They had to sell those gifts, I'm convinced, on the way to Egypt and on the way back to buy food, to buy heating elements, to buy things that they needed to survive with. But yet, how many times do we have to give up our own precious gifts to continue on, to buy food, clothing, housing, and so many other things, cash it in, and help? I've never seen a U-Haul truck or a Brinks truck following the hearse in all my years. Get ready. Today is the end of one season, but the beginning of a new. When I was in Italy, my last story, I promised, when I was in Italy for the first time, I went to meet my relatives in Rome. I was so excited, I was so happy. I made sure I had a gift for every one of them. There was so many. Oh my God. I went broke. I went to the house and rang the doorbell. Oh, mio fratello, grazie, come in, come in, come in. Oh, che bello. They all loved me. Thank you, Jesus. They loved me. And then they laughed at me. Put the gifts over there. It was not the time for gifts. Christmas Day is the day for Christ. And that's what they celebrated. And then on the 6th, which is tomorrow's feast, called Little Italy and Little Christmas. That's when you give the gifts on Little Christmas. So it pales really in comparison to the gift that we were given, the gift of light, the inheritance of everlasting life, and that of the blessings of Jesus Christ. What a tremendous moment we have here today. We have Jesus with us in that of the Eucharist of Christ, of course. But we have him in each person. Each person here has received the inheritance of that gift. I have a little poem that I found and I really liked that explains a gift so well. In conclusion, I read the magic. It represents forever for all of us the wisdom and the recognition of human life that is so precious, and that we're all on a journey that will take us to search for one of those who will hurl us beyond our own beliefs into the faithfulness of service of Christ. One before whom we are prepared to kneel, to beg, to hug, and to live. When you present your gift, even though they're flawed, unworthy, and imperfect, present your gift as you present to Christ the gift of yourself. Today we give to the church and we give to so many others. When we give to the church especially and we give to one another, we don't just give a simple wrapped box. We give our life. Go home today and prepare one more small gift for Little Christmas tomorrow. Find someone to give that gift and prove to them that it is by your love that you give them this gift. And may it be the gift of Christ to each one of them. Have a blessed new year, each one of you. Amen.